Hello everyone, and today we're looking at a replay from IGTrix. Not quite sure the exact leagueification of IGTrix, but he is somewhere about the Stuff League, doing his Stuff League thing. So we'll be mostly focused on those sort of Stuff League stuffs, and as usual, it's going to be a mechanical analysis type game where we take a look at different things that Trix could have improved upon mechanically. To do that, we're going to look into the Trix cam, and we're going to see what he's selecting as well. So first of all, the basics, we have probes being produced, which is good. We're going to have a small gap in probe production after we build the pylon. That's totally normal. So you're trying to get the probe production constant and you have the gap there. Don't worry about it. That's always going to happen. There's nothing really that you can do about it. If you're on Heart of the Swarm, you're going to have a certain amount of time of idle production because of that, and a certain amount of time of supply blocked because of that. Nothing wrong about that, nothing inefficient about that play, so that's good. Nice, and you can see he's trying to pair up on the mineral patches that are closer, which is always a good thing to do if you have the APM, you have the time to do it. So that's very nice. We haven't set a scout out yet. It's not really necessary to scout after the pylon. You can if you want to, but it's not always necessary. We're gonna build, alright, so first little mistake we have here. We're building this gateway. We're building the gateway a little bit late. 85 minerals late is actually quite a bit late. Really, we could get this when we had 13. When we're at 13. We're actually at 14, and the 14th is about 66% done or so. So we could have that gateway up a lot sooner. That'd be the first major detriment in efficiency. And he is doing a lot of tapping. You can see that down here. He's doing a lot of tapping, looking back and forth, really fast. Shift click over, but again, it's a little bit on the late side. The assimilator is a little bit on the late side. This pylon will be down in time to prevent any supply blocks that might be coming in. So that's solid. Chrono boosting. So yeah, so this chrono boost was a little bit late. I wasn't sure if he was saving up for warp gate or something like that, and I'm gonna pause for a second. You'll notice that this probe here is holding minerals. You want to avoid doing that. A lot of people still do that. Even in professional games, a lot of people still do that. Right now, the high level games are not really at the point where that's gonna make a big difference. But again, my job is to point out anything that is inefficient, and these 5 minerals are disappearing. Never to be had again, so that is certainly not an efficient thing. I'm going to want to watch out for that. And as well, it's also more efficient to be grabbing 1 probe at a time and sending them in, rather than grabbing 3 and sending them in, because all 3 of these will go, 1 of them will go in, and 2 of them will be waiting outside, which is actually a little bit of delay time, which can be worth up to 5 minerals, so it's another 5 minerals that you have to watch out for. These things are going to quickly add up. 85 minerals late over here. A couple, probably about 10 minerals wasted over there. Maybe 15. I think 2 of them had 5 minerals in the minerals, 5 minerals holding, and plus the time of delay of idle worker. We're going to try to get into this scouting thing, and so the way that you want to scout against a Terran player is clicking up on this ramp. That is, if you're not going to be watching your scout the whole way through, clicking up on this ramp right about here or in the middle, and then holding shift and then clicking over to the base. Because if he has a wall in, which he does, it's down right now, but it was up at the time that this probe came around, the pathing is going to send the probe as close as possible to the destination, which was probably around here, without you know, knowing what's up here. So if there's a wall, it'll just get as close as possible, and you don't get to see up here, which can be nice. A lot of times you can see an add-on or not an add-on or anything like that. Sometimes you can actually see if they're building another barracks or factory if they build it too close to the wall. So always good to just pop up there, see what's going on if you can't get in all the way. And so let's get back into the Trix cam and continue out. Very nice. Same kind of thing over here. This one's not as big of a deal, but grabbing the probe that doesn't have minerals is always going to be better. because you're delaying those 5 minerals. Most of the time it's not going to be critical, but once in a while you can get it at a bad spot and it'll slow you down. We are running into... Nice. That was actually perfect. I actually want to watch that again. This is a moment that I talk about a lot. When a player has 26 out of 26, but they're not actually supply blocked. So we're 26 out of 26, and this pylon's going to finish just before this next probe finishes, which is actually really nice because you're delaying building this 100 mineral structure for as long as possible. You actually, to be efficient, you want to be building the pylons as late as possible. If you're starting out, though, don't worry about building them too early. That's a little bit more refinement for later on. It's not going to make a huge difference in the beginning of your game. So if you're in the Stuff League, if you're in bronze to gold, with silver in between, of course, as it usually is, don't worry too much about that. I would just worry about trying to keep building these probes, which we did have a little gap. We had a small gap in probe production, which we want to avoid. Denying the scout, pretty cool stuff. And chrono boosting. Again, we have a lot of chrono boost built up here. When I say a lot, I mean more than 25. Oh, and we're going to lose another 5 minerals. Ooh, there we go. Cool. So that's the move that you want to make if you see that a probe with minerals is about to enter in the assimilator. You can actually grab 3 probes, some of them with minerals, right-click on the assimilator so that they all go to it, and then just press this return cargo button, whatever is for you. It's R for me. It might be something different for you depending on your hotkeys. But if you press that, they'll actually go back and return the minerals and then mine the guys. You don't have to shift queue up any commands or anything. So again, just box the workers if you're going to send them in that way. Right-click on the assimilator and press the return cargo button. Don't click in this command card. Press whatever letter it is on your keyboard. Never, ever, ever click in the command card, ever. Your first step to improvement is never clicking in the command card. And got a little bit of a lull going on, but let's see what we have for control groups right now. We've got the Nexus is on 2 control groups. That might be a little bit of a misstep, just like a fat fingering of a couple of keys kind of a deal. We have our gateways in a control group, which is a lot better than having them as the warp gate key. The warp gate key is convenient and easy, but if you have them as a control group, whoops, he's adding a nexus to that control group, which is kind of weird. If you have them, the warp gates and the gateways in a control group, you're going to forget turning your gateways into warp gates less often, so you won't be doing that so much, and you'll have more control. The other advantage is that you can, if you do it this way instead of using the warp gate button, you can condense your production of units onto one control group, and if you do that, you'll have a lot more room for other things in your hotkey setup. Closer, faster army control, things like that. Probe is just doing a little bit of hanging out. This is actually a smart move because bringing it all the way back to this base wouldn't really be that smart, but if you can just wait and bring it back over here when it's done. Oh, you actually boxed 2 of them. When you're in a kind of situation where you ever want to select one thing, just click on the thing. At first it's going to be difficult, but eventually it'll be much faster once you get used to it. Just click right on the thing. It is a much more efficient way of doing things. It requires less motion. More accuracy, but less motion, and once you train your accuracy, it'll be faster. Cool. So another thing that's really nice to do that Trix is doing right now is dropping the pylon over here. Being able to see all of your base is really helpful. Really helpful for spotting drops and stuff like that. Some people may say, oh, well, it's a vulnerability. If he drops, he'll get my pylon. Well, if he drops and gets your pylon, not as big a deal as if you don't have any vision over here and he drops right in your mineral line, and then all of a sudden all your probes are gone and you didn't have any sort of forewarning for that. So having the pylons able to see your base is also going to help you against Niduses. This is a PvT, so we're not going to worry too much about that because it's very unlikely that Terran will be able to Nidus us, as that is a Zerg structure, but just a general useful thing. A lot of things that you can do. And this is actually a very subtle thing I'm about to point out right now. It's actually faster to click a probe and build an assimilator. Like click a probe on this side, build an assimilator, shift click back, click a probe, build an assimilator, shift click back. Very small thing, but if you can get used to doing it, it'll be a good habit that you could build up over time. And all these little things are going to build up over time. We're doing a really good job spending our money. So our money is nice and low, a lot lower than our opponents, which is good. We're going to run into some gas issues in a little bit. We're going to talk about that. As far as the pylons go, we're not building our pylons at the last second, which is the most efficient thing possible. We just lost another 15 minerals over there. So, I mean, I think we've done that every time. So 50 minerals here, 15 minerals here, 15 minerals here. I didn't see this one. Imagine if it was 15 minerals. So that's 60 minerals. So that's a probe. That's a little bit of a little bit of an advantage that you don't have, because you have this bad habit. And really, it doesn't take you any extra time. It's just you just build the correct habit. You just do it in the efficient way, and you have this little tiny advantage that you get to build up over time with each gas you take, with each structure you build. I didn't mention shift clicking back before, because Trix was doing a really great job with it. We have this idle worker over here. We don't have money in the bank, which is great, but it means that this probe isn't really going to be building anything anytime soon. So having him hang out here and wait until there's something else to build is a mistake. You're losing about 44 minerals every minute that you have a probe idle. So again, this is more of those little minerals that's going to add up over time and give you a disadvantage if you built up the wrong habits. So yeah, still idle. Hopefully he's looking at it and he notices the idle probe. But it looks like he didn't. Ah! Also, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Did he know that was there? Okay, good. I was like, did he actually know? No, he didn't know it was there. So he actually did a really good job. Watch this. He's gonna jump to his observer right as it's entering the base so he can see what's going on, which is really great for him. He's definitely watching his minimap, which is very helpful. However, he didn't notice the missile turret in time to pull back. But props to him for actually jumping over here and looking at it, because that's not a thing that a lot of people are going to be doing in the stuff league. And if you can see a little blip on the mini-map, we're about to have some action over there. Cool. Alright, probes under attack. The reaction. Gonna run away to some extent. Alright, so we're gonna go look back at this in just a sec and see exactly how he handled this. Alright, so let's go back, look at it again. We're gonna look at it in slow motion and see how we might have been able to react better to this drop. So I'm gonna go put it on normal speed, have everything selected. Good. So first of all, we have our army in a control group, which is good. I really like having multiple control groups for my army, but for now, one control group is not really gonna hurt you too bad. And alright, so we jump over here. Oh no, we need to back up even more, I'm sorry. We need to back up even more. Alright, so here we are with the warping in. We see the observer over on our mini-map. We check it out. Oh no, not enough time. And we don't see what we don't see. We're moving this observer when there's a red dot on our screen. We can actually have the team colors off and on, which in this case is not changing anything. But if you have the team colors off or on, sometimes your opponent might be blue, which is a lot harder to spot. This case, our opponent is actually red. 1 second. Use team colors. Okay, good. Our opponent is actually red, so it didn't make a difference. But we should be able to see our red minimap dot coming over here, which we'll freak out about. But our actions should be to jump to the base camera next. Don't know if Trix has a base camera set up, but a base camera would definitely be helpful. Alright, so, and the reason why the base camera is helpful, so look at this. We definitely clicked over here using our mini-map. Let's check if we use this pylon. No. So we used the mini-map to click over here, and when we could be have used a camera control group to jump over here. So we have the camera control group, jump over here, box, use another camera control group to send these workers over here for a while. Because we could use 8 other workers over here mining while we're dealing with this drop. You can do something like send them over here. Right now, it's kind of debatable because it is only one group of only one medevac full of units, so it's probably not going to be too big of a deal as long as we get these guys out of here right away. But the other thing is we have our building placement here. So we have a really big base where we could have a lot of different places where we could be building our buildings. We really don't want to restrict our motion to respond to drops, especially against a Terran player, because it's very likely we're going to be dropped a lot. So I'm going to watch the army come through here, and it's going to get funneled through this little area. It already has to get funneled through this the ramp. It's going to take a little bit of extra time to get to where we want to go. So when you're planning out your building placement, you want to avoid doing that. And let's take a look at how TheJaKaTaK dealt with it. Getting into the habit of the things you need to do to defend a drop is very helpful. Alright. Now we come back. So we did this thing for a moment where we actually brought the probes this way, and then we brought the probes this way. So definitely some misclicks there. Really want to, if you use the base cameras, you won't have to worry about mouse accuracy in a time like this. Just box, jump to the base camera, click on a mineral patch. That's the only mouse accuracy you need. You don't need to like box, scroll, click, click, scroll, grab the army, click, 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 scroll. It's going to take a lot less time if you have your base camera set up. And let's continue on. We select, we have our gateway selected right now. And we're going to warp in. Our army is already on the way, which is really good with a nice reaction as far as that goes. And yeah, so I really would have taken this path to defend against the drop and try to get this medevac, but overall, really nice defense. Go back to normal speed, which is, of course, faster, which is, of course, the normal speed. It looks like we have a wandering red dot in here somewhere that I know. See what that's all about. Alright. Cool. So this is where that gas excess starts cutting in. We get supply blocked, and now we're going to have our money start kicking into high gear. So we've got 4 in here, 3 in here, obviously. Not obviously, but 3 is the maximum. 3 is the maximum we want in geysers. So that's a little bit of an inefficiency. Dropping some cannons so it doesn't happen again quite as badly. But yeah, so less than efficient here, which would be 16. One more, and we're not building probes right now, which is a huge thing. We have all this gas. We're not building probes to get us more minerals, and the gas is going to continue to rise. We're going to have a lot of trouble trying to get rid of that gas. If you find yourself in this kind of a situation, if it's really high, you can consider taking some probes off of gas, but most times you can catch up, and it looks like you can do that, or rather TheJaKaTaK is doing that. Alright, so another observer lost. Really got to keep our eyes on those observers whenever we can. Building lots of pylons because we keep getting supply blocked. Generally, whenever you get supply blocked, it's good to build one extra pylon, to sort of one that'll get you out of the supply block and one that'll give you a little buffer, because you always want a little bit of a buffer for your supply blocks. Cool, so we do have these forges on our control group, which is nice. However, having them on our Nexus control group would allow us to remember to build probes when we're upgrading, and remembering to upgrade when we build probes. Just keeping all the upgrade structures like the Robotics Bay and the Twilight Council, keeping all of those in the control group with the Nexuses is going to allow us to remember those sort of things. Cool, taking a third base. I really like taking this third base. A little bit less spread out. Whichever third base you like to take, go ahead and take it. Generally, we'll see either this base taken or this base taken. A lot of times, a Zerg player will take this base, wanting to be a little bit further away. Generally, Zergs like to expand away from their opponent. Cool. So here we go. We're still not building probes though, and some people will say, oh, okay, well, I just build the number of workers I need here, and then I get about the number of workers I need here, and then I wait until the third is up, and then I start building probes again. And most of the time, this is not going to be the correct move to make. You can support up to 24 probes, or 3 rows of probes, or 3 per mineral patch, whichever you want to look at it, on a base. So say we had 3 rows here. Say we had 24 workers here, and we had 24 workers here. We could transfer a full 16 workers to the mineral patches just as the Nexus is finishing. So we have the income from this base right away. And that's important because we've already invested 100, 200, 600 minerals into this base. If we don't get those minerals out of this base, it's going to be cost inefficient for us. We want to at least get that much out of it, and ideally get a lot more out of it than just 600 minerals. So being able to transfer the workers over is going to be more efficient than what we're doing here. And we have a lot of tapping, checking all, or supposedly checking all the facilities, but we're not actually doing anything with them. So you'll notice back there was a lot of spamminess. There was a lot of, all right, I'm pressing all my control groups and pressing all my control groups, but it's not really useful to just press all your control groups like crazy unless you're actually looking at them. We went through our Nexuses a number of times and didn't notice that we weren't building probes. And we had warp gates on cooldown during that moment too, and we weren't warping anything in. So make sure that you keep that in mind. And the Colossus comes out. We're building our classic gateway units plus Colossus, Death Ball of Doom and Destruction against our Terran opponent, which will prove to be fantastic. Really nice with the using pylons to spot. We'll be able to see any sort of an attack from a different angle and be able to react to it and keep our army here. The one thing I don't like, however, is if we do have to move over here to defend, we have to walk through these 2 pylons, which is going to make our army into this single file line that will march and get killed by an opponent who's paying attention to his positioning. So either bringing these pylons a little bit closer, tucking them in a little bit closer, or having pylons maybe over here and over here, and maybe one over here, just to make the pathing a little bit smoother if we have to go back and forth. Cool. Cool, and we've got our gas pretty much under control right now, which is good. Whenever you have gas that's out of control, make sure you don't take any new gases. And also, you want to be purchasing things that either cost the same amount of gas as minerals, like upgrades, or more gas than minerals, such as sentries and things like that. Make sure they're usable. Don't just build tons of sentries if you have nothing else to back them up, unless you're going for the classic all-sentry attack. But otherwise, you're generally going to want to, not overbuild on the sentries. Cool, so we're building more upgrades and stuff like that, where our money is staying nice and low. We're going to lose another 5 minerals, plus wait times, probably 10 minerals. He comes in with a little force. We decimate his little force. And we have a drop. Okay, so this is a pretty slow reaction. We have the drop, and we're staring at our warp gates, waiting to be able to warp in. What we should be doing right now, our reaction to the drop should be grab the workers, jump to the base camera, grab the workers, send the army, and send the workers over here. Preferably in order would probably be jump to here, send the army, grab the workers, and send them here. So that way we keep our workers alive. He can kill, he's going to have to fight these cannons. He's probably going to kill some pylons and stuff, but him being able to snipe the Nexus is kind of difficult as long as we can get our army there. It is pretty far out. We'll get these Colossus over there pretty quickly. And the upgrades are even right now, so we'll see. The other thing is you want to think about your base layout as far as building placement goes. This is a really vulnerable place to be building your tech. So if you build your tech over here, that means that he has to go through all of this to get to your tech, or he has to come through all over here. He's not going to be able to run past over here and then cut in and drop here on your tech unless you're not paying attention to your mini-map, which you should be trying to get used to doing anyway. So a little bit slow on the reaction. Let's see how much longer it takes for this reaction from the drop.
Base is under attack.
We're looking at things. We're adding a unit to our control group. And actually, we never run the probes until they're right there. I really think running the probes to start off with is the way to go. I'm just going to walk away from those medevacs. I would consider finishing them off. And again, we're still not building probes. We're going to build... Oh, okay. So it looks like each time we have these gas spikes, we're also getting a supply block. So I think a lot of it has to do with not being able to spend our gas on units because we keep getting supply blocked. But the other thing is, of course, getting dropped, not having so many on the minerals. If you get dropped like this, if you get in this sort of situation, I would definitely consider going for all minerals for a little bit and getting the guys back on the geysers once you catch up with this gas spending. Our giant Deathball army is being scanned, and we hear the cloaking of Banshees. Actually, we hear the cloaking of something. We don't know it's Banshees. I know it's Banshees. There they are. We're getting a little bit of harassment. And the Observer is being chrono boosted out. We're going to take a couple of hits from the Banshees, but nothing too bad. And he's going to try and kill our base. And this is the kind of thing that I was talking about before, where we have these pylons here that are messing up our units getting into position to kill things. I mean, it's already bad enough that we have to fight where this nexus is in the way, but the pylons add to that issue. So having them there is sort of annoying. We have a much bigger army, so we're going to be fine as far as that goes. But and then we have our Colossus in their own control group, which is kind of a cool thing. It's like, all right, so you want to make sure your Colossus are safe and micro them and stuff like that. I would really suggest the use of a melee control group. I see this also in programs lots. Watch this army. Look at all the zealots. Now imagine if, first of all, these pylons weren't here. All the zealots were in the front, and the stalkers were behind. All these zealots run up, excuse me, very quickly and kill everything that is necessary to be killed. And a lot of time is spent with these zealots making their way, and once the battle is done, finally they're all in the front, but a lot of damage could have been avoided if the zealots were just in the front. Very easy to have. Get used to setting up a melee control group. You can also put Archons there with the zealots and perhaps some DTs. If you mix in a couple after your harassment, you want to mix in a couple for extra damage because they're not paying attention, they don't have detection, whatever. Also can be a useful little trick to do. Cool. At this point, it's pretty self-explanatory. Our base is under attack by one Marine. We're not really worried about it. Yeah, good move. For a second, all of his army started moving in this direction, but this was, I believe, the correct move. It's one Marine. You can do something like a warp in to deal with the one Marine, but sending your whole army off to kill this one Marine is most certainly going to be a mistake. He walks into you with a couple of more units. That's a lot of units we've killed. And again, same sort of thing. Zealots in the front would have been a lot better situation to run into this. And it's going to take a little while for everything to get reorganized and proper. The charge helps a lot with this, but again, having a melee control group is very helpful for that kind of a thing. Cool. We're going to warp in and deal with that. Looks like the probe's going to get in on it too. Nice. We haven't looked at that battle for a long time, but more importantly, our gas again is skyrocketing. So let's take a look. Since that drop, we haven't replenished this mineral line, and I understand that, okay, there aren't a lot of minerals here, but we do want to replenish the mineral line to some extent so we don't have this outrageous gas, extra gas. We could be getting our shield upgrades at this point. You already have 3-3, might as well get shields. We have our blanket charge, which is cool. We're coming out with Colossus and all that kind of stuff. The other small thing I want to notice is also that base got killed, so it really hurt us as far as that goes. The other thing I want to note is the Chrono Boost energy. Not too bad for this one, but we're fully maxed out on this one for Chrono Boost energy. I don't know what this was at before it was done, but what I like to do to make sure that I'm spending my Chrono Boost energy is whenever I do a warp in, I Chrono Boost and check pylons every single time. If you can get used to doing that, you're going to avoid a lot of supply blocks, and you're going to stay very efficient with your production. And you're going to be Chrono Boosting out all your Colossus, so you'll have more Colossus or Void Rays or whatever you'd like to Chrono Boost. Very nice. Colossus comes out. We're not really worried about this because we've got a giant army. We're just sort of attack moving at this point, which is kind of snazzy. Again, this is a Stuff League replay. In the Stuff League, as long as you have more stuff, most of the time you're going to be fine. It is good to check in on it once in a while, but the primary goal at this point in your development should be the macro. Obvious, very small inefficiency here. What happened was this probe, Trix decided this probe was going to build 4 gateways. He held down the shift button, pressed the build and then gateway, and then clicked 4 times over here. Instead, to fix this problem, what he's going to do is mine the minerals, then do all this stuff, and then return the minerals. A really long trip for 5 minerals. Instead, just grabbing the probe, building the first gateway, and then holding shift and clicking and building the other gateways is going to avoid this inconsistency, or inefficiency, I should say. Also, you should be consistent with your efficiency. And TheJaKaTaK leaves the game. Pretty simple Stuff League, kind of a replay. We had more stuff. We won the game. Biggest thing would be practicing the drop reaction for improvement. So practice running the probes away, getting your army there, and always having a clear path from wherever your army is to wherever you want to defend the drop. Having all this stuff in the way is going to hurt your ability to react to drops and things like that. Cool, cool, cool. So this has been mechanical analysis from TheJaKaTaK. We'll see you guys next time.